episode of GeekastX. I'm Sean. Today we have a special guest, the SoberDwarf.
Yo.
And you can tell us a little about yourself. Is it Twitch? Is that what it is, or?
I have multiple ways you can kind of look. Right now, I have a Twitch. It's www.twitch.tv/SoberDwarf. And I also have a Facebook page you can look where I kind of post updates. That is www.facebook.com/TheSoberDwarf, because some jerk took SoberDwarf normally.
That bastard. Alright, and we'll be sure to link you guys up on the Facebook page. And really quick, we got some other plugs. We got we're on YouTube at the GeekastX, YouTube user GeekastX, and then we got we're on iTunes, and then you can hit us up on Twitter with Jake at @StakeJake, and we're also on. Did I already say we're on Facebook? We're on Facebook at the Geekazoid official. Key here is the X, and then we're also on nerdoverload.com/authors/GeekastX. All right. Usually Jake does the plug, so that's why I'm a little bit sloppy at it. So, all right, let's get right into it. So, what is the stream you do? Is it like it's just video games, right? You play video games, and do you do like a commentary or like like a walkthrough at all, or?
Well, right now I'm kind of looking at what I want to do with it, but the idea is that rather than just kind of do a let's play or just stream it and just kind of say what I want, I kind of want to focus on the game design aspects of it.
Yeah, so like things that you like and don't like?
Right, well, not even that, but game design's kind of everywhere, and anytime you kind of look at a game, when you view something, it was purposely designed in that sort of way to teach you how to play, to bring enjoyment, to kind of make it a cool factor and all that. And a good game design doesn't really show that. It's kind of like a hidden behind the scenes. It's like the magician. If you know how the trick is, you lose the magic of it.
Right, yeah.
What I do is I ruin the magic by exposing all the tricks and trying to explain it.
So it's like a little bit kind of like a review as you play?
Yeah, and I typically don't design. Sometimes I'll point out whether it was a bad design, good design choice, and just because a game is badly designed or good design doesn't make it a bad game or a good game. I mean, if we look at Pokemon, the original, that game had glitches out the wazoo. Like the special stat didn't even do what it was supposed to originally do. So, but it was a critically.
Could you give us like an example?
Sure. Like the one that comes up to mind first of all is like Final Fantasy VI in America.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was talking about Pokemon. What do you meant? Like what you meant by the special stat, like for the layman?
That one's I'm a little bit rusty on, but there was a glitch in the Pokemon Red and Blue where the special stat was supposed to cater to a certain effect, and now I remember what it is. There are certain moves like Razor Leaf and all these ones that's supposed to have a slightly higher chance of critically hitting.
Oh, okay, I got you. Right.
But the designers, when they did that, they flipped with the code, and the game.
I'm sure, like for like electric, it's Thunder Shock, and then
right. Well, it would be like Razor Leaf would always crit because of the way to design the code.
Okay.
And that is, we now we live in an age where we're just an internet patch away from fixing everything that's wrong.
Right.
Back then they couldn't do that, so that you could argue, hey, they screwed it up there, but the game was still critically acclaimed as one of the best games ever made. So just because the game,
I loved it.
Oh yeah, I loved it. I played the hell out of it.
I mean, the thing is, they kind of used the same formula for every single Pokemon game, and look how successful it still is.
Right. Well, the thing is, Nintendo knows what they need to change and what they don't need to change out of it. So, the old saying, you don't fix what isn't broke. So they kind of just keep the same formula and kind of they add to it. That's why instead of the 150, they're up to like 4,447.
Jesus, are they really?
No.
Okay, I was gonna say, holy crap, dude! I've been out of the game for a while. I mean, I think I played up to like I want to say what comes after gold.
Gold, I believe. Do we count crystal or do we count? I believe the one after that was the Game Boy Advance versions of like Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald.
Okay, I think I played up to Sapphire, Ruby and Sapphire, and then I got Fire Red just because I like the original.
I got Leaf Green. I played the first one, Red, and then after Red, I got Gold.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think it kind of lost me up there because they kept adding more.
I wish they had came out with X and Y, like that whole 3D thing, like long time ago. That'd be sweet to play on GameCube or something.
Yeah, well,
but instead we got like Pokemon Snap for like N64, and then Pokemon Stadium.
Pokemon Snap and Stadium weren't too bad. After they started doing like Coliseum and
oh yeah, dude, I totally forgot about that one. Isn't that Stadium? Like, isn't that like a sequel?
It was kind of like a spin-off sequel. It was definitely reminiscent of Stadium, but it had its like own little contained story.
Wasn't there a game that you could play on the Game Boy and hook up to the console? Like
yeah, Pokemon Stadium originally with the Nintendo 64, they had the transfer pack. You could plug in the Pokemon to the transfer pack and import, but then they had I believe Coliseum had support for the Game Boy Advance link cable. Mm-hmm. It was also supposed to have e-reader connectivity, but they scratched that in the American version.
Oh my gosh, I totally remember e-reader.
I have mine somewhere. I
had mine too, but and then remember they had the Pokemon cards that you could swipe. Yeah. But then I got like one pack of those, and I'm like, this is dumb. But I mostly played the games that came with the e-reader. And I don't know, I feel like it was too novelty. I eventually got bored with it after a couple weeks and ended up selling it.
Here's the thing, I like the idea of it.
Yeah, it's a good idea, but I don't think the execution was well.
If they were to implement it better, for instance, the ideas that they were talking about is okay, the Pokemon trading card game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, imagine they had an idea of okay, each of the Pokemon cards are going to have a way you can swipe it, so that way you can play in GameCube era, and they have online connectivity. It's you can swipe it and play your Pokemon cards online as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that would have made Nintendo even more millions of dollars because, you're first of all, you can sell a product and it's just okay, swipe, and it wasn't something that you could easily hack and just be I got all the cards.
All right, yeah. So, that'd be cool if they did that with some kind of Digimon game. That'd be fun.
Right. Well, Nintendo has a.
Well, they've kind of expanded on that. Isn't that the e-reader kind of the beta version of the amiibos and stuff for the Wii U?
I don't know if they've.
Because you scan them in.
It is definitely the predecessor of it. I'll argue that. But I don't know if Nintendo had a plan for the amiibos up until I think. Skylanders did it first.
Oh yeah, dude. Forgot about that.
Yeah, but Nintendo's always been on.
Oh, and then there's Disney Infinity.
Right, Disney Infinity. There's another company that did them too, but they weren't as successful.
Yeah, dude. Oh man.
I'm sure there's plenty of Chinese knockoffs too.
Right, that's good shit though. One of my brothers has the Disney Infinity. I've only played it for a little bit, and it was pretty cool. It was a really interesting concept. You have like this platform in front of you, and you can change the world you're in and change the character and upgrade them. It's so weird.
Yeah,
to describe it, you just have to do it in order to feel the experience, and it's holy shit, this is awesome.
Well, it's interesting because they don't necessarily have to have the figurines. Those figurines have just a little I believe RRID sensor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could technically, if they wanted to design a game where it was just inside the game, they could. However, it gives you a nice little physical product that's kind of a small, tiny. It's a statuette. But,
oh yeah, dude, and they're expensive too.
Right. So.
But I gotta say, it is really cool because it is you put the little statue dude on the thing, and it is he pops up in the game. They even have the same creases and stuff. And it's holy shit.
Right. It's novel, but novel has a tendency of either being a fad.
Yeah, right. I totally agree. It'll be done after a few years, and then you have all these figures.
But the thing is that especially with Nintendo, I wouldn't say so much for Skylanders anymore because Skylanders was definitely the novel concept, but with Disney Infinity and the Amiibos, they're collector's items too, which is why you have people still lining up on day one out in the middle of, it's 30 degrees out and they're wanting to get the 5 Rosalind figures that they, sent to Target.
Was Rosalind a Pokemon?
No, she's from Super Mario Galaxy.
Okay, alright, yeah, I never played that one, sorry. I actually, the last Nintendo game, like, console, well, I play a lot of emulator games, so, like, I played a lot of Legend of Zelda games. Is it how you stream through like, an emulator, or do you hook up an actual console?
I have multiple ways. Typically for consoles that I can get better quality out of emulating, I will do that, but I do have a capture card that I use. I use that for like the PlayStation 2, the Xbox 360. I got a few other consoles that I use it for. Right now the quality isn't so good because I don't have S-Video. I'm using composite like a noob. But
in time.
Yeah, you gotta take baby steps.
Right, right. So what kind of like what is your favorite genre of games to play? You mentioned Final Fantasy. On your streaming thing, do you take requests at all, or like how does that all work? Is it like you play like a little snippet, or do you play through the whole game?
Well, the way it works is that
I know that seems like 5 questions at once.
All right, I'll try to hit them each as we go.
All right, sorry.
No, it's fine. As for favorite genre, I was a huge RPG nerd back in the day. Probably right around like the late Super Nintendo, early PlayStation 2 era. RPGs were my jam. I was really big into stories. I was also big in video games. It's kind of like the marriage of the two.
Mm-hmm.
But as of now, I'm kind of like in a free floating. RPGs just take too much time for me to really get into.
Mm-hmm. I feel like the only RPGs I ever played were like the Elder Scrolls, the Fable games. Those were some of my favorites.
Right.
I don't know if you'd count The Legend of Zelda as an RPG, but it's definitely like one of those cool epic tales where you have to like run around and get stuff.
Yeah, when we get into definitions, it's kind of a difficult thing to describe.
But I never really got into Final Fantasy. I played the piss out of what's that game? Kingdom Hearts. I loved that game.
Right.
But no, I never got into Final Fantasy. The only ones I actually played was like Dirge of Cerberus, because the previews made it look really cool, but it ended up being a crappy game.
Yeah, that was definitely Square Enix cash in on the Final Fantasy name there.
And then what was the one? I think it was, which is the one with Cloud?
There's Final Fantasy 7. There's
I think I had Final Fantasy 8.
That's Squall then.
Yeah, Squall. Yeah, and he has the gun, the gun sword.
The gun. That's a sword. That's a gun.
Yeah, that one. And he has a leather jacket.
Yep, that is definitely Squall. Cloud was one.
That's the one I had, and I made it to like, isn't there like 4 discs? I think I got to disc 2.
Yeah, there's 4 discs. I'll be candid, that wasn't my particularly favorite entry into the franchise, just because I guess coming from Final Fantasy VII, all the characters are. I know people give Cloud a lot of shit for being emo and depressed. However, the beauty in it is in the backstories of the characters.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
You kind of get, it's like, oh, I like this character. I want to know more about him. And there were definitely characters in that Final Fantasy VIII, but it was kind of for different reasons. You had Selphie and her fetish with trains. You're kind of like, what happened to her as a child?
What? Yeah. I think is cool. Like how strong the franchise is. You know what I mean? Because isn't that why it's called Final Fantasy? Because when they were coming out with it, they're like, this is probably going to be the last game we ever make.
Yeah, that's actually a real interesting story. Squaresoft at the time just got into the video game designing industry, or they started getting into video game design because that was the biggest new thing. I'm not really 100% sure what they did before that, but they made games. They made the 3D Adventures of World Runner. They made this shoot 'em up, kind of like a fantasy shoot 'em up, and all the games did really poorly. And after a while, they were like, okay, this is it. This is our last game. You know, if this doesn't succeed, we have no more money. And the guy who was the lead designer of it was going to go back to school and do something else with his life. So they released Final Fantasy, and in America, it kind of did it did decent. I wouldn't say it had, rave reviews, but in Japan, it did extremely well.
What was the first console it was on?
The Nintendo Entertainment System, the
wow,
NES.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So then after they succeeded with that, since it didn't do so well in America, we actually missed Final Fantasy 2 and 3, the Japan releases, but then, they gave it another shot with Final Fantasy 4. Then we get the whole naming convention of like, okay, well, they didn't get Final Fantasy 2 and 3, so we're just going to call Final Fantasy 4 Final Fantasy 2 over there.
Oh, like they did with Power Rangers?
Yeah.
Like how like Mighty Morphin over in Japan is like actually season 6.
Yeah, it's
that's not an exact, that's just a guess, I'm not really sure. So if anyone wants to like quote me, they'll be like, hey, I was just guessing.
Oh, I don't know. The internet is spell check for life. You're
oh yeah.
Well,
so are you into like any like recent games at all? Like have you ever played like Hitman at all? Are you into that kind of thing? Because recently, I only bring it up because they're making a new movie about it, and I was gonna ask if you enjoy the movies based on the games. Like Final Fantasy, that was a pretty cool movie. I don't think it did very well though. But Resident Evil, that's one that keeps going.
Yeah, and here's the thing: video game movies adaptations are kind of hit and miss with me. I almost like it when they're so bad they're good.
Like Resident Evil.
Yeah, I don't even know. Resident Evil kind of takes itself a little too seriously. If we look at the Mortal Kombat movie, that was.
Oh yeah.
It was so cheesy, but it was like just like the game. You had Johnny Cage, crotch, split crunch Goro on the nads, and
right, yeah, and then like the whole like the special effects in that, even though it was like low budget, it was pretty decent.
Right. That's
get over here, and he's in a forest, right?
Well, no, I think that fight was where he was in like this hell pit. There's like lava and they're on a bridge.
Oh yeah, okay. I just remember like wooden pillars.
Yeah, I think there was definitely those. Johnny Cage. All I remember is Johnny Cage split punching Goro in the nads and running away and fighting Scorpion.
Oh yeah. And wasn't Goro like claymation?
I think so. I'm not really 100% sure. I don't know if it was claymation or really early CGI.
Man.
Yeah, it's hard to tell the difference between the two, really.
Yeah, especially in that time period.
Yeah.
That was good stuff. I actually, back to the Hitman thing. Have you played any of the Hitman games?
Yes, I haven't played the latest few, but I was definitely a fan of like the early trilogy.
Right.
Blood Money.
Those games are fun. I enjoy games with like replayability, like in the way that like I remember playing Hitman Blood Money, like each level like 20 different ways just because I could. You know what I mean? Like there's not one set way you have to go. You can like, oh, I could take this guy out, take his outfit, and like sneak into this area, take this guy's outfit, or do it the other way around, and like just fucking run in guns blazing.
Right, and it gave you encouragement to actually be like an assassin.
Oh yeah, with the rating system, I loved that.
Yeah, they had the rating system, and as you got the rating system, the higher you got, the more stuff you unlocked to allow you to do even better on the other missions.
Oh yeah, and the thing where like you have to like if you hold on to a gun when you exit the level, like you get to keep it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever play? There was this game. It was a ninja game called Tenchu.
I actually did a stream about that not too long ago.
Oh, dude, I'm totally gonna watch that shit. I love Tenchu. Me and my brother used to play that all the time and like compete. Like, dude, check it out, Ultimate Ninja. I'm like, where did you? Or Silent Assassin, I think is what the highest one is. But like, yeah, that game was so fun.
Yeah, you're not gonna enjoy watching my stream then because I got like Thug and stuff.
Oh my god, really? That's funny.
Because that's the thing with doing a stream. You kind of want to keep it going and. Mm-hmm. You can stealth games, but if you're having a lot of people watching, they kind of want to see action.
Which one did you play?
I played Tenchu Wrath of Heaven, and I did
that's a good one. The bonus level?
I didn't do the bonus level, but I did do the B side where they had the really crazy translation.
What? No way.
Oh,
I didn't know there was a B side.
yeah, you had to unlock it, but they had the B side. It was essentially all they did is the voice actors just did this crazy story about like Ricky Maru going after a secret invention and trying to get the, you know,
Isn't that when
it.
he goes into the future?
No, the future one is
Remember,
kind of
and
like
he has to infiltrate like this like warehouse, or
yeah,
no, it's like an
yeah.
office building.
He has to go. Yeah, he starts off on the street, then he has to break into this office building and kill the CEO of this company. That's basically the basic of the Tenchu plot. Every time it starts out, you have to punish the evil merchant.
Right?
Well,
Yeah,
this time
yeah,
you have to punish the evil CEO.
yeah. I love that game. That has to be one of
Oh,
my top 5 favorite games.
if it wasn't for the really weird level design
You
and
get to
how
make it.
dark.
Remember, is that one where they introduced that you make your own level?
No, that was I think Tenchu 2.
Oh, okay. All right.
They
I
had
just remember
the.
designing crazy ass levels that were like impossible.
Oh yeah, and I wish they would keep doing that because that's always a fun feature.
Mm-hmm.
That really adds replayability to certain games, especially if you have friends like, "Hey, I bet you can't beat this one."
Dude, I just remember like the enemies just being like ninja, and you're like, oh
Ninja.
shit, gotta run, 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 and it's
Right.
like, I will find you. You know what I mean?
Then,
And
then
you're like hidden in a bush.
you use your little instrument and you'd be like meow and it'd be like, "Oh, it's just an animal. I killed my best
Oh
friend."
yeah, yeah, I forgot. Yeah, yeah. Is that? Oh, dude, you know what I loved about Wrath of Heaven is they introduced like when you do the special moves, and then
Hmm.
it's like slows it down. There's that one thing where like Ricky Maru basically dances with them, but he like presses his sword against their body the whole time, so he's like cutting them all up.
Yeah. Oh, this. Yeah, and the stealth kills are really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, I really do enjoy the game. I was having a hard time with the stream because playing it again, the game is just so dark.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you mean like not tone wise, but like visual, like
Right.
it's hard to see
It,
shit.
yeah, it's so hard to see. You turn around the corner and be like, okay, I know there's an enemy there. I can't see him. You poke your head out for a second. You can't see him, but he sees you. It's like ah.
Right? Yeah, yeah.
But overall, the game is. But then again, PlayStation 2 era. It's not a big company that did it. Activision definitely published it, but the company that actually developed it wasn't really. They weren't a big name. They didn't have a huge budget, so
Right.
I can
Oh my
I
god,
can forgive it in certain instances.
that was so fun. Um, I'm a really big fan of like sandboxy games where you get to be stealthy and shit. Like, do you ever play any of the Splinter Cells? Those are kind of fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed Splinter Cell. I like how badass it made you feel in Splinter Cell.
Oh yeah, dude, totally.
Like like
Like the sound effects when you break someone's neck is like, you're like
right,
yes.
or just being like, okay, I'm in a hallway. I want to get this guy. Okay, there's a guy in there. I want to perch up, do the splits.
Oh
I want
yeah,
to try
yeah.
to above this guy, and I want to throw a magazine on the ground right over there. Then he walks up. He's like, "What's this?" You hop down, get up behind, and break his neck.
Right, right.
They definitely make you feel cool.
See, that's the one thing I loved about Hitman is like fuck, someone's coming. Better disguise myself.
Right. It definitely gave you the whole.
And then you could do silly shit. Like, remember, there's this one level in Blood Money where you go to like a kid's party and you can dress up like a clown.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And
That
you
was
like
awesome.
sneak upstairs and go into the. I can't remember if it's like it's a female room and you put ether on the panties so when the like security guard goes up there to smell the panties it knocks him out. You're like,
Yeah,
bitch, I
they
got you.
they do the level design in that really well. At least the older ones. I haven't played any of the new ones lately.
Absolution, I think that was the most recent one. That was pretty good because you get like this thing called Instincts mode, which is basically like have you played any of the Batman or Arkham games?
Yes,
It's basically it was detective mode where you can like see through walls and shit.
right. And I do remember there was like a mechanic where the better you were at it, you got more instinct.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
So it
The
definitely
stealthy,
rewarded
the
you.
more stealthy you are, the higher you get.
Right. Whereas it kind of does this upward spiral, downward spiral. You
Hmm.
get caught, you have to use your instincts to get out of there.
Right, it slows shit
They,
down. That was really cool too. It goes like into this kind of Matrix looking thing where you're like trying to shoot.
Yeah, I do remember seeing like it was amazing because they have this one scene where you're in like Hong Kong,
Mm-hmm.
and there's like hundreds of people on screen at a time, and
Uh-huh.
you're following this guy through a crowd, and you have to like stay far behind, and, like maneuver through the crowd.
Mm-hmm. I remember
And
that. I remember that. That was really
there,
cool.
there's also this part where like you follow this guy into like I don't know if it's like a weapons deal or a drug deal. You got to kill the guy. However, you can get him killed by like while he's talking to the one guy, you just steal like the briefcase or the envelopes full of money, and the guy thinks he pulled a fast one and kills the guy for you.
Yeah, that's
They
the
def-
best. That's the thing about Hitman that I love, that you can make it look like an accident. I remember in the instant. Well, this just going back really quick. The one cool thing about the instinct mode is like it's kind of time sensitive, but you can do this thing where like when you enter instinct mode, you can put targets on everyone's head, and then once you like let go, like really quick, he draws his gun and he shoots everyone with the target. You know what I mean? So it's like
yeah,
slows down and you're like target, 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 and then you like press play and he's like.
does a really cool dramatic
Yeah,
entrance.
it's really sick. But yeah, dude, I totally remember that. And I remember in Blood Money, you get to go to a mental institute, like a mental health thing, and you get to like mess with the crazy people, and you get to sneak up into this guy's room and fuck with his little propane burner because he, I don't know, cooks in his room for some reason. And so when he goes to light it up, like his room is full of gas and it blows up. And then like there's this one dude who he's an alcoholic and he has a hidden stash and it's inside the globe. And you can take a syringe of poison and poison his alcohol and then close the globe. It's all really cool.
Yeah. No, they did. They definitely did really cool level design to make you feel like you're an actual
Assassin,
assassin,
right?
as opposed to playing like say the Assassin's Guild in Skyrim, where typically it's keep heading up until you have to stab the guy.
Oh yeah, dude, I remember that. Well, yeah, Skyrim didn't do it that well, but the one before
Yeah.
it, Oblivion,
Oh
I thought that was way better.
no, Oblivion did. My favorite part of that entire game is where you do the who done it. You're part of the Dark Brotherhood, and you're like, okay, you need to go in this house and kill everyone that's going inside there, and then you could just pull out your dagger and start killing everybody, but you can wait till someone goes to the basement, stab them, and everyone else is like, oh my god, who killed it? And I'm like, I don't know, dude. I think it was that guy. He's violent.
Oh, right. My favorite part about Oblivion was my favorite part was the Thieves Guild,
Thieves Guild was also really
where
cool.
at the end, like every item that you stole was actually toward like this giant plot near the end, where like you have to use all the gadgets that you stole and shit, like these boots that make you jump really high, and some kind of special arrows,
Right.
and then you have the what is it? Who is the leader? You get like this mask
The
that makes you invisible.
the Gray Fox.
Yeah, the Gray Fox.
Yeah, you can put on the mask and you can do any crime you want, and it applies it to the mask, not you.
Right. Oh, and the cool thing was it had a secret entrance to the Thieves
Right.
Guild.
No, that Oblivion definitely did really good at their guild design. Like all the missions in there were really interesting and fun to
Right.
do.
I love games that are like interactive like that. Like because like all right, so I've been talking to you like about this is like off screen kind of. Well, I'm saying it in this like interview thing, but I'm saying like I've been talking
Right.
to the SoberDwarf about The Legend of Zelda because recently I started playing them again, and I'm on Spirit Tracks, and I find that Spirit Tracks is like super what's the word I'm thinking what is it? Interactive. It's like super interactive because like you have to like say things, you have to talk to the game, you have to like blow like dust off of maps, and like say there's like candles in a room, you have to blow the candles out. There's a flute you have to play, like you actually have to play the flute. Like
Yeah, they definitely wanted to use the microphone to its fullest extent. And actually, here's an interesting thing: Nintendo was doing that all the way from the Famicom Legend of Zelda. We didn't have the Famicom like they did.
hmm
Their second controller on the Famicom actually had a microphone that you would have to scream into to kill enemies. There were certain enemies that were really weak to noise.
Oh yeah, that was something that they did in Spirit Tracks as well.
Yeah, so Nintendo's always been really good at using their hardware to make sure that the game that they did was as interesting as possible.
And those two DS games, like they're really fun because you get to like draw the path you want your boomerang to fly. Like you throw the boomerang and like you get to draw. Dude, the coolest thing about those games I find is like you'll get information. You're like, dude, better remember this. Write it down. So like you write it on the map. Like, all right, here's where that thing was. I'm gonna need to know this later. And like you're later on the game, you're like, shit, I need to remember where that thing was. And then like you go like, oh, good thing I wrote it down.
Yeah, they definitely use the DS to its full capacity on that. The only problem I had with the game is that I was a huge Legend of Zelda fan.
Oh yeah, definitely. The classics are really fun. Like Link's Awakening and what's the other Link to the Past.
Right.
The one thing I thought was weird about Link to the Past, really quick, not to interrupt, but like, why did he have pink hair?
I don't. I believe this is just me using my own judgment. I think they did it to stand out from backgrounds because on the ground you would see a lot of dark browns, you'd see a lot of greens, and Link, being the palette he is kind of a dark brown,
earth tones.
He has earth tones, just as we humans do. We're all earthy. So they kind of did that. So it's like, oh no, this is always where your character is because you can't miss purple hair.
Right, yeah. But then they kind of did the A Link Between Worlds, and he has orange hair in that. I don't know. I bet it's kind of the same reason they gave Mario a mustache, right?
Right. It helps define their faces more.
Right.
The whole reason Mario has the suspenders even is so that it looks more natural to have his body the way it is rather than look like a block.
Yeah, especially when you're doing like 16-bit, 18-bit kind of stuff.
Right. When you doing 16 or doing any kind of pixel art, you really need to have certain defining characteristics. Otherwise, your characters kind of look like Atari people.
Right.
They don't really have definition. You don't see differences, and where's the shoulder end and where's the arm start.
Right. Definitely. I remember. Hold on. Let me really quick look this up. Go ahead and keep talking.
All right. So Nintendo originally designed Mario with the overalls is so that he'd have definite. Okay, this is where his arms are. This is where his body is. This is where his legs are. The mustache was to define. Okay, this is where his nose is.
Mm-hmm.
This is where his eyes are in relation to it. So with pixel art, you really have to kind of go into those little minute details to kind of stick out. Otherwise, we don't have to do it in so much in 3D games, but we also, I feel, have less interesting character designs because of it.
I want to say that like the Game Boy Advance definitely helped that out. Like expand from like however many. Like it's still pixel art, but it's more detail. I was just thinking about like how different Link. It's Toon Link, from Wind Waker. Right. He's in the Minish Cap. And I definitely dig that style. It's unique, but I also like the style of Twilight Princess. But they really captured it in the Game Boy Advance game. And go ahead.
The good thing about I know when Wind Waker originally came out, there was a huge, outrage
because he looks like a cartoon instead of being badass.
It looks like you're playing a cartoon. And we just came from the 64 era where we had.
Isn't that when cell shaded graphics
Yeah, that was when they first started becoming a thing. We had it a little bit before then, but the consoles couldn't really handle it all.
With the Thievius Raccoonus.
Right. PlayStation 2 was the first one to finally, get it. And for certain entries, it actually works really well. Like they did it with the Dragon Ball Z.
Oh yeah, dude! I totally remember that. What is it, Tenkaichi?
Budokai Tenkaichi. And those look really awesome because it looks like you're playing the cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a lot of outrage for Zelda because it was like, okay, well, it looks like a cartoon. This is what we wanted out of Zelda. However, looking back at old games, and I say old GameCube era games, whereas, something like, I'll say, let me look at my shelf. We have Metroid, it looks decent, but you can tell it's dated. We got Phantasy Star Online, which was a Dreamcast game that looks dated. Wind Waker doesn't look dated at all. It looks like it's art.
Yeah, it looks like kind of like Japanese box art a little bit.
Right. Oh man, that would be awesome if they did like the Japanese wood painting art as a
What,
Zelda.
what was that one game with the dog?
Okami.
Okami. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a
I'm
fun game.
actually that's kind of fresh in my mind because I'm working on a video that kind of touches on Clover Studio, the people that made Okami.
Hmm.
But
One thing that's
it,
really cool is like once you go from like the Minish Cap, which is what I played before playing what is it, Phantom Hourglass. Like it's the same Link, and it actually transfers over quite well
right, that's when
because
Nintendo.
because you go from like pixel art to like straight up 3D rendering, and like whoa, dude, that's cool.
Yeah, Nintendo definitely uh, has a really good art style with that. As I said, I was even in the camp that I didn't really care about Legend of Zelda, as it was called. But
Yeah.
now that was back in my that was back in my whole every game needs to be super realistic kind of. But when games have an art style to them, they don't really get dated. Like you can play any PlayStation 2 game that was supposed to be top of the line graphics,
Hmm.
and it doesn't look good. It looks like it was kind of blocky. It doesn't, for the time it was amazing because we've never seen games before that.
Right, right. You know, it'd
But
be really cool. Like speaking of like stylized games, if you do like a stream of you should do a stream on Shadow of the Colossus.
oh yeah, that game looks good even by today's standards, and
Yeah, I know, right?
that's not even including the HD port. That's the one I own actually, but Shadow of the Colossus was always a gorgeous game. They kind of did the whole Jurassic Park thing where they focused so much on the grand overall scheme, and they did really good shadow work
Oh yeah, dude.
because the
One
Shadow
thing
of
I
the
thought.
Colossus.
Sorry, go ahead.
And you can hide a lot of details in shadow that you would just normally nitpick, but just seeing this huge giant figure and just seeing this huge giant figure and just looks like a silhouette, and you can
Hmm.
tell like the major details of it, but it just looks so cool.
Yeah, the one thing I remember about that game is the horse. Like you're on the horse and you have the sword and just randomly going around the desert, following this beam of light, and then like you're going through these canyons and like wow, this is like really vast, huge. It's
Right,
almost like Skyrim
right. And
scale on PS2, and then you finally get to this huge beastly looking thing. And you're like, holy crap!
well, yeah, that was the thing Shadow Colossus did so well that it made you feel small. There
Yeah.
was no, you know, you a lot of games kind of wanted to make you feel like the big badass villain. You
Hmm.
know, Shadow Colossus made you feel so small in the world. Like the the plains were vast, these mountains were huge, the Colossus were Colossus, but everything was you were so small. However, you were also able to overcome all that. You would climb up on these giant creatures to fight them. And even though that was kind of what all the game had to it, what it did was really well the way it did it.
Hmm. I definitely love that game. They should like make a like an updated version of that. Like, what's your favorite
Per
classic game?
classic game, phew,
You know,
that
I
one's
found recently on the Super Mario Brothers, like if you die, you can continue the game where you left off if you instead of just pressing start if you hold down A and then press start.
right. Uh,
Holy
I
shit.
miss that about I miss that about classic games where you would have these little kind of hints and cheats. Nowadays, you have to buy your cheats.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah, or like DLC or something.
Right,
I remember playing, Mario so many times. You like get this muscle memory, like you know where all the warp worlds are and all that kind of thing.
hmm.
So fun.
Yeah, they definitely. Here's the thing: Nintendo definitely knows how to make a really good game. The only problem is that sometimes, like, and Shigeru Miyamoto said this himself. Sometimes when they make a game just for the sake of having to make a game, forget which series he said that on.
It's probably every fucking, pardon my French, like Nintendo launch system has the same like four games. Like here's Mario Kart, here's the new Super Mario Wii. Like remember like Super Mario DS, and they like whatever system it is what the like Mario 64. Like it's new Super Mario on the console, and then they have like Metroid, and then they'll come out with the same games everybody loves.
Right, and Nintendo has been very, not so much lately, but there was a time in their life where they wouldn't really make anything but stuff that they knew would do well. There was a game called Animal Planet or Dinosaur Planet that was going to originally be released on the Nintendo 64, and it was original IP. It was made by Rareware, the people that made Banjo-Kazooie, Donkey Kong Country, and stuff like that. But Nintendo came in because they owned most of the shares at the time. They're like, well, we like this game, but we want you to use Star Fox in it.
Oh, right, yeah.
And they renamed it to like Star Fox, what was it? Star Fox Adventures. And basically, at that time, all the game ended up being was a Legend of Zelda clone with Star Fox in it that had very little space shooting like you wanted out of Star Fox.
Right, yeah. I know there's a couple of games. Let's say like Dirge of Cerberus. That's one of those games where like sweet Final Fantasy, and it ends up being like a tunnel game where like you have to go this way.
Right. Dirge of Cerberus was like, hey, I want to do like a spectacle fighter where you're running around and gunning things, but we want to make sure that this is Final Fantasy. So we're going to beat it into your head. Hey, remember this from Final Fantasy?
Oh yeah.
And especially, I don't know if you said you played 7 or not, but chances are if you haven't played 7, you're not getting anything out of it.
Right, yeah. I've only played half of 8, and then
right, and they're not something that's sequential. Like, if you play 8, you don't know anything about 7.
All right.
And 7 was, like, I know 7 gets a lot of crap because it's the most popular one.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a rich lore behind it, and they make these games like they made Crisis Core, which I actually do like Crisis Core as a game on its own.
Hold on. We're going to pause this right here for a minute. I got to go make sure everything's okay. And then the other room. I'll be right back.
All right.
Okay, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Alright, so wait, what were we talking about really quick? Oh yeah, the Forza you said?
What's that?
We were talking about how shitty Dirge of Cerberus was.
Oh, the thing is that it wasn't really designed as a game to be fun. It was kind of designed as a cash-in.
Like a filler?
Yeah, it's like, hey, this is a popular character, you want more of this character? Well, buy the game. And
right.
they tried some things, but I don't think the studio that designed it was really capable of designing a kind of high-action spectacle fighter.
The one thing I hate about games nowadays is like all the DLC and shit. Like, oh, you think this is fun? We'll play this. Oh, but you're gonna have to pay for it.
DLC, like when DLC first came out, I've always been a fan of expansion packs. I like anything that adds more to a game that I wouldn't normally get. Like, oh hey, you'll want more of this game, so here's like a small, like Fallout did this where they kind of gave you, oh, here's like this other section of the world that has like this interesting backstory that you can explore and you get new stuff. It's really fun to do. However, it kind of got corrupted in the sense of like, oh, well, you want this? Now we're going to hold it hostage.
Oh, like, do you remember, I think it's Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, where like, the memory, like, you know how like Assassin's Creed, like you get the memories? Well, like, memory, like, columns, I don't know.
Right.
Like, I can't remember what it was. Like, it was like, 4 of them were all black, and you're like, shit, this is weird. In the game, they're like, oh, they're all corrupted, but later on, they're like, hey, you guys want to play those, memories? You can buy them. And you don't even get it, like, there's no incentive, because, like, you don't get any achievements or anything. So it's like, why spend $5?
Right. At that point, it felt like Capcom was terrible at this. they would release fighting games that would have characters on the actual game that would, on the actual disc that would not be unlocked until you gave them $5 each. It, yeah, the Capcom
That's
in
like,
this.
yeah, that's totally different than what I was thinking. Because, like, I like the actual downloadable content. Like in Fable, you can download, extra worlds and shit, that, like, extra land. You know what I mean? Like, and I think it was the third one where it's like, hey, come visit this underwater city.
Right. And, I believe Bioshock did cool DLC too, where it kind of
Oh
gave you,
yeah.
they gave you really cool content. And it was, it's a fairly inexpensive price. Some games, I remember, what game was it? I can't remember off the top of my head, but there was
I'm
like
playing.
DLC.
I got Bioshock Infinite, like the first DLC thing, the Buried at Sea.
Yeah.
But like, there's like two or three chapters, and I only have the first one. I wish that they like would have released that all at once. Same thing with like Assassin's Creed 3, The Tyranny of King Washington.
Right. That's. See, I don't have a problem with DLC. First of all, DLC needs to be done right.
Right.
Because we don't have any other kind of market for this. You don't go to a movie theater and buy a ticket and have the person at the register say, well, this is for the first half of the movie. If you want to see the second half, you're going to pay me an extra $4 to get it.
Oh yeah, right.
Like DVD features, they had the limited editions, which is about the closest thing we can get to like actual DLC.
Like,
but,
here's the regular theatrical cut, here's the uncut.
Right, and typically the price difference between them is no more than like $2 or $3, and you don't lose anything by not getting it.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of games in general will get this idea. It's like, well, okay. For instance, Dead or Alive series. It's a fighting series that's pretty fun, and you get the whole base game. But if you want to get like all the extras, like, okay, you want the alternate outfits, well, that's going to be like a $3 pack. Well, you want these other alternate outfits, it's another $3.
Oh yeah, I remember that. They had that with Fable, like to dye. They had dye in that game, so you could dye your hair different colors or your outfits. And to get like a simple color like black, it didn't come with black or like red or anything. You had to buy those colors. It only came with like, here's magenta and highlighter green.
Yeah, they get in this mindset where they feel like they can hold back content from you and hold it hostage essentially for you to pay for it. And I always find that very adversive.
Right. I dig the season passes. Have you heard of those?
Yeah, where you pretty much, okay, it's $15, but you get everything that we're going to release after.
Yeah.
Which is, that I feel that's fair. A lot of games, it really depends on each company how they do their price point.
Right.
But
sometimes you get useless shit. Like for Bioshock Infinite, the first DLC thing they released was just like an arena. Like, that's what I want to do. I want to fight people over and over. It's kind of like the Horde from Gears of War, only the Bioshock version. I'm like, I don't want to do that. If I want DLC, I want like an alternate costume, some kind of badass weapon, or like a new story.
Right. The thing is, things are becoming. We went from expansion packs, which were, pretty much complete new additions to the game.
Right, when you have to get the disc.
Yeah, then we turned to DLC, which is supposed to be the replacement for expansion packs, like kind of in smaller, more manageable amounts. Rather than pay $40 for a whole new disc with a bunch of it, you can pick and choose. Like, well, I don't really care about getting the Necromancer class, but I do want the Amazon, so I'm going to go ahead and pay the $5 for the Amazon so I can use it.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're kind of like microtransactions where it's like, okay, well, you want to play the game. Oh, you can get this brand new weapon now. Make it a lot easier if you want to give us $3.
Oh, right, yeah. Or like you like get to a certain point, and like I recently downloaded this Sherlock game on my phone, and like you get 2 levels, and then like to play the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, you have to pay for them. It's like, what the hell?
Right, and it wouldn't be so bad if the price points were more reasonable.
Right.
I have no problem. Like, if someone's like, hey, you want an extra costume for 50 cents? To me, that's like, yeah, sure. That's not a very big investment for me. It's something I can look at nicely. But typically, these price points are like, anywhere from $3 to $5 for one item.
Mm-hmm.
And you vote with your wallet essentially. You have to be like, okay, I'm not going to get it because I don't feel it's worth it. But there's so many people with expendable income that just like, I don't care, I want it all.
Right. That's how when my younger brother is. He's buying all these Disney Infinity figures that are like $15 each. I'm like, holy shit, how much did all this stuff cost? And he goes, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I don't.
But this is awesome. It was a good chat.
Oh, I enjoyed it.
Do you want to plug your stuff? You want to go ahead and plug one more time?
Yes. You heard me talk about the stream a lot, so I'll plug that first. I'll be doing a stream once per week on www.twitch.tv/SoberDwarf. If you want to know when those streams are going to be, I definitely recommend you follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Twitter is @SoberDwarf. I usually just post when I go to stream. Facebook, I will also be posting a little bit of things about game design here and there, and as well updates to my channel. And eventually, I will have all the content I create on YouTube, which is www.youtube.com/user/SoberDwarf. And feel free to follow, like, subscribe, do whatever you want to do.
All right. And again, we are the GeekastX, and you can check us out on Twitter. Hit up Jake at all at stake Jake, and then we're also on YouTube at user GeekastX. Just type into the search bar. We have a bunch of episodes on there. We're also on iTunes. That's where our most recent episodes go. They usually hit YouTube first, then they go to iTunes, and then we're also on Facebook at the Geekazoid Official. The important part to remember is the X. It's not a Z, it's an X. And yeah. Catch you guys next time.
Yep. Take care, everyone.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely link up, post a link to the SoberDwarf page on Facebook.
I will definitely post a link to the podcast for my.
Totally, definitely, dude. Just to try to generate some love.